Hi everyone and welcome back to Inside Success. In this episode I get to speak to Lee Pottle, who is the founding director of MPH Sports. Lee's built this business over a number of years which is there to support professional athletes with finding new homes and building up a portfolio of properties to give them a continuous income once they finish their careers. What I didn't realise, and what comes out in the podcast, is obviously Lee's own personal journey from being signed at an early age as a player himself, and then the path and journey Lee took when that dream ended. So look, before we get into the present Lee, let's know a little more about you.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with a quick fire, get to know your guest.
Yeah, far away.
Ready?
Yeah.
Real simple things. What was your favourite computer game as a kid?
Got to be FIFA.
FIFA.
It's got to be FIFA.
What was the first one you had?
Oh, God.
It was always numbers, wasn't it? Or was it FIFA first? I can't remember.
Was it FIFA? Must have been. Any on like the Sega Mega Drive. Yeah. Whatever the football game was back then, I'm sure it was FIFA.
It was FIFA.
It was FIFA. So you would have been looking at something around I was born in 79, so it's got to be the 80s, isn't it? You know,
was it
late
early
90s? Yeah, late 80s, early 90s would have been that. My brother and I used to always live in our whatever the Nintendo was at the time, but it was.
I'm getting you thinking, right?
Yeah. No, it was an unexpected question.
And what team would you be always?
Well, surprisingly, it would have been probably QPR.
Okay.
Because I changed team.
Oof. 5 minutes in, we're getting very...
Yeah, deep. Controversial as well.
Yeah, controversial stuff.
Because no one should really change their team, but QPR were really rubbish. And all my pals were at Chelsea, and Chelsea were always QPR's biggest rivals. So when I started going to Chelsea as a kid with my mates, and then we started to go home games, away games, European games, the inevitable was going to happen, much to my dad's disgust, to be honest, and my brother's. But yeah, it was always like a QPR, probably against Chelsea or something. But yeah, the Super Mario was always up there. So
I'll give you a little secret. There's a famous picture of me as a kid. I was on a soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. Depends who's listening today, obviously. Camp with my football team, and being young and naive, there's a shirt with me in a Tottenham t-shirt holding the FA Cup with Gary Mabbott.
Brilliant. But back then,
people don't know I'm an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, so. Well, I know you're an Arsenal fan. So back then, you would almost have different shirts. I mean, I actually bumped into Dave Besson on the train on last Friday.
Safe pair of hands there.
Very safe pair of hands. What a player he was. Great goalkeeper. And we were on our way to Gaucho. He was on his way to Gaucho. I was going with my wife for dinner. And he was doing a sports person's talk. And I said to Lorna, he was actually the first person that gave me my first ever trophy.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a picture of him at home.
You just put that up somewhere then?
I probably should.
You should.
But it's in a box somewhere now. But yeah.
Fantasy dinner guest, and why?
I would have said JT, but I now work with JT.
So it's John Terry.
Those who are
not in the JT world.
Yeah, and I've had breakfast with John, and he's pretty cool. So my next one would have to be Frank Lampard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have so many questions for that guy. I have met Frank, but I haven't had any form of time with him. That's definitely on my
So that's on your target list?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's probably an achievable target as well.
Possibly. Not.
Okay, so would you rather be a star player in a bad team or an average player in an elite team?
I think as a kid I loved, obviously my dream was to become a footballer. I'm sure that will come up at some point, but I was never the star player, and I was happy with that. Our teams were always elite, whether it was school, county, Borough, which is district,
Yeah.
QPR, Watford. Our teams were always good. So I'm happy to be an average player in an elite team. Yeah, I'm happy for someone else
You'd
to
rather
take
be
the
part
start.
of it collectively,
Definitely.
rather than leading and being a team that doesn't do anything.
Definitely.
Okay, like that. Would you rather work more hours a day but have longer weekends, or work fewer hours a day with more work days?
I never have a day off, Paul.
Okay.
This is the thing, and I think when you come to realise if you want to be successful, you work from the minute you start the day, and you're working from the minute you go to bed. I've got to actually improve on that. I am getting better in the sense that I try not to work too much at weekends now, because I worked pretty much sort of 6 days a week from sort of 8 till 8 really for probably sort of 15, 16 years. Now I have got my weekends back. So I would say I would rather work more in a day and less days of them.
I like that. And do you have a favourite quote?
Favourite quote? We've got a saying here actually,
Okay,
saying you got to do what you got to do.
Okay.
So we're, if it means that you've got to come in a little bit early or work a bit late, or you've got to drive to Manchester for an hour's meeting, you got to suck it up and do what you got to do. Yeah. So that would probably be it, really.
Okay, that's good. So before we get to the present,
Yeah.
I'd like to get a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah.
So could you introduce yourself and a bit about your working background before you started at MPH Sports? So let's push it all the way back. What was your first working experience?
My first, all the way back, I was dropping leaflets at the age of 10, 11.
Okay.
I then managed to get a few mates come on board, and I'd then give them leaflets to drop, and thankfully I would then not do it and tell the company I was dropping them, but I actually outsourced it. So I guess that was sort of probably my first sort of sign of entrepreneurship. Then, I was offered a job after my work experience in a restaurant. I really enjoyed the catering side. But after my football career didn't work out at Watford.
What age was that?
16.
Okay.
So I was there from 10.
So we'll leave that part for a second.
Yeah, and then college didn't quite work out. I'm sure we'll come back to that as well. So my first job was in a state agency at 17 at Baker Pierce in Rayners Lane as a junior negotiator. I was there for 4 years.
Okay.
So I went from a junior negotiator to the office manager. I was then offered a directorship title at that company, but the actual director set up his own company.
So that's 4 years.
That was 4 years, yeah. So I was.
You did all right.
I did all right. I did well, and then I was offered an equity partnership at another company. So I joined there to set up a lettings division from scratch. They were fairly successful with the sales arm that they had. They had 2 offices over sort of Harrow and Wembley. And then I sold my home and opened up my own estate agency. Back in 2004, I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 24. So sold my house, asked my dad to move back in with him after leaving him at 19. He said, well, your room's still there, mate.
You've got your QPR colours on the wall still.
Yeah, for walking in with a Chelsea shirt. So that was a change. But then, look, our company went from 1 office to 5 offices in 5 years. We were very successful until the credit crunch, unfortunately. But then, I wanted to change my life, which I'm sure we'll talk about that as well during the pod. And I wanted to give myself a new challenge.
Okay. So that was at 21, you sold your property.
24.
24.
I sold my home and I put all the money into setting up an estate agency, yeah.
Wow.
Every single penny of it.
So what was the trigger for you to go, you know what have I got to lose? Or was it a blind confidence?
It was blind confidence. I backed myself. I think sport really helps you become competitive in business. And I always wanted to be the best. I wasn't the best in football by any stretch, but I wanted to be the best of the person I could be in a state agency. And I felt like I had a bit of an edge over other people that I was working alongside. That's why I always got promotion after promotion and pay rise after pay rise. But I always felt like I was destined to do something better. And so the conversation really was, I was leaving a very, very good salary with a 40% equity stake in a lettings department.
Whilst only being in it for 4 years.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. To then back myself, and I did it with a partner who I knew would complement my skill set. And between us, I felt that we tore it up. We had a really, really good environment. We had a great. He had a skill set which was more operational led. I was very good with people on the front line. So my responsibility was to lock in sales instructions and lettings instructions, and that we'd have a team in place to then sell them and rent them. And he would oversee the management of the business. And I felt like we did that really, really well.
Okay. So, I didn't know that bit, so it's quite an interesting element of it. So let's take that part, you're 24 there, let's flip it all the way back to the 16-year-old Lee Pottle, who, I didn't know you then.
No, you didn't know.
So we've obviously known each other for what? 15 years?
Yeah, about 15 years, yeah.
And that's for obviously mutual
friends and family.
Yeah, obviously from James Simpson.
Yeah.
And so I've known a lot of your history, but I never knew you at school.
No.
I never know what the Lee Potter was then.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't have wanted to be honest.
What I like is that what's interesting so far, this is you're my second person speaking to, and as soon as I've said that 16 mark, the same expression comes up on the face, a big smile, and then the thought process of how to describe yourself.
I was always one of them kids, to be honest, that could have always done a lot better academically. Got easily distracted for anything, a light going on or someone saying something or a cough happening or something happening in the corridor. I got distracted because my mind wasn't focused on really what I should have been focusing on. I was focused on when does school finish so I can play football? What team am I playing for? Who are we playing? How am I getting there?
So let's step back to the football part then, because obviously you've mentioned that being quite a big part of your childhood. So what was the first memories or your first time you played football?
Well, my dad was my coach at the age of 5, really.
Okay.
So he coached me up until I was probably at 10. I then got picked up by QPR for a year, went to Hayden, which was secondary school. My game went to another level at that point. I was getting extra training with QPR. Obviously, my dad was living the dream because he's thinking, great, my son's going to be playing for Queen's Park Rangers. But then Watford came in, and the infrastructure at Watford was superb. Run by a guy called Kenny Jackett. Kenny Jackett was a former Watford legend. And we felt it was the right move for me to sign for them. I had the best football experiences, really. I played for because back then, even though you signed for an academy, a professional club, you were still able to play for your grassroots team. Okay. Whereas today, you sign exclusively.
Yeah, you're done.
So it was nice to be able to still play for my grassroots team and the league representative side of your county, your district, and that sort of stuff. But Watford was a brilliant experience. I was part of a team where some of them went on to make it full-time pros. I was probably a bit small, probably a bit too nice as well. That was the kind of the feedback that my dad was getting. And we were then offered other trials. When I was 16, when I was released, I got other trials like Millwall, West Ham came in, but I needed just to focus on enjoying it. I think that was important, and I needed to focus on my exams. I needed to focus on what life looked like beyond football.
So did you have a kind of inkling getting up to the age of 14, 15, it wasn't going to happen?
No, not at all actually. If I'm honest, under 14s, Watford were entered into the Air Cup. Now, the Air Cup at the time was the biggest national tournament for youth football. And our team won the group stage. We played Liverpool in the quarter-final. We played Motherwell in the semi. And we actually faced Cambridge in the final. Big stadium, loads of thousands of people there, and we won it. At that point...
So you're on a massive high.
A massive high, and there was so many clubs that were after pulling me in. Kenny just said to my dad, look, just trust the process. You know, we back him. But a lot can happen in a year, let alone 2 years after that.
So what was your mindset then around school? Obviously, you've gone a massive high. You've probably come to that period where GCSEs are being discussed.
Yeah.
As you say, was your eye physically on school, or were you physically going,
it was on. I honestly felt between the ages of 12 and 15 and a half, I was going to make it.
Okay.
I genuinely did. So 16 was a bit of a tough time for me, if I'm honest. You know, realising that maybe I'm not going to make it. Football's different now, but back then, I should have probably... I took it too badly. That was my problem. I'm quite an emotional sort of guy. I took it too badly, and I should have probably have chucked myself back at fighting more for that. But I back what my parents said at the time is that, look, you probably have sacrificed academically to get to the point where you are at football. You now need to shift your focus onto your exams. And to be honest, I got through my exams. You know, I didn't get any sort of, you know, A's and B's, but I got majority of your C's and a few D's and stuff. And I did enough to justify a half sensible CV for a company to employ me when I needed to.
And then that took you then straight into the estate agency?
I tried college. So I tried college for 6 months at West Herts in Watford, which is now...
Studying what?
Sports science, I think it was. It was something sporty. It was something that I felt like I needed to do. And it wasn't for me. I realised that actually, if I'm not playing football, I just want to earn money. And I was hungry. I had a little bit of anger inside me. I felt like I knew I should have focused more on the sport. So if I couldn't focus on sport, I needed to focus on business. I didn't want to learn. I was never good in a classroom. Mm-hmm. So to go back into a classroom 4 or 5 days a week, it wasn't for me. And to be fair, my mum backed me and she said, look, what do you want to do? And it was literally my close pal at school, his brother became an estate agent. And all of a sudden, he's gone from, you know, being someone who we used to look up to now driving a nice car in a flash suit. I thought, do you know what, maybe this is a bit of me. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Part of what we're discussing and the reason why we're going back from the very start is there's a generation coming through who believe that everything they see on social media is instant gratification. Everything is done in a heartbeat, and that they're going to be millionaires within 12 months. And from your story to where you were then, I don't think people have enough opportunity to speak to people on how to actually move their careers forward, regardless of what they're doing when they leave school. And you've just highlighted there, you didn't have any concept, and you fell into it for a referral of talking to another human.
Well,
does that make sense?
Absolutely, perfect sense. And my son, being 16, who is halfway through his GCSEs right now, who has just been released from a professional football club, is going through exactly the same journey as what I did.
Tough?
Yeah, of course it's tough. It's probably worse on us watching him because you can't control it. You know, I mean, the poor lad he had 8 very successful seasons at QPR. They didn't sign him because of his height. He then was offered a trial at Luton Town. Luton Town signed him in a heartbeat to the rest of the season. And when we had to force a scholarship answer based on the fact that his exams were coming up, and we needed to apply his mindset to that as well. And it was a split decision that it was a no after 5 months there, and we felt that was probably going to happen for him. And now, to be fair to him, he's applied some fantastic time towards his studies. He's now going to be looking at joining Wildstone on a 2-year scholarship,
nice.
So it's local. He gets to play football 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And that's perfect for him. I think, with the National League doing so well, highlighted by Wrexham this year in its county, I think that there's a lot of opportunity and money being thrown into the lower leagues now. And I think there's an opportunity for other clubs to tap into buying some bargains. And I think Jamie's got a fantastic future in the game, if his attitude's right.
So subconsciously, was there that cold shudder feeling that things are repeating themselves again?
Oh, 1,000%.
And that
exactly.
And you want to nip it in the bud before it got to the point of complete devastation.
Yeah.
And exams were no.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've removed any ill feeling from him. This is not his fault. He's going to be absolutely fine. We will back him. We will support him. The pressure of becoming a footballer back then wasn't as much. Now it is different. Everyone wants to do it. The lifestyle's fantastic. The money's great, but only for short periods of time. So you can't. And if I'm honest, I don't really want him to become a footballer. I work with these players every single day. It's not what you all think it is. Genuinely, short contracts, no long-term security, moving around the country to earn a few quid. I mean, you're right if you're playing in the Premier League, but the lower leagues, the money isn't quite there, and it's very insecure.
So shall we get to the current?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's fast forward. So you've been a state agency all the way through.
Yeah.
You are now obviously the managing director of MPH Sports.
Yeah.
Again, where you obviously discussed previously on your moment of clarity to do something different.
Yeah.
How did this happen? How out of the blue did you suddenly go from, I've got a state agency, you mentioned the credit crunch. What was the inspiration to start this element of the business?
Yeah. The inspiration, I'll be honest, was a lifestyle change. So with Jamie at QPR, Chloe starting to play football, they were playing 8 times a week. And as you know, with kids, that's just football, let alone all the other activities and clubs and friends. And so I wasn't there.
No.
I was becoming I wouldn't say a terrible dad, but clocking into an estate agency at half 7 in the morning, bearing in mind I've probably already done a couple of hours at home already, to then not coming home till 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, and then getting the laptop back out to put on more property details and notifying the team of what new listing we've just taken on. It was causing problems in my life, between me and my wife, between us as a family. She's running around everywhere. I wasn't being available because I was solely responsible for a lot of the money that we were bringing in. Yeah. And I had a fantastic team that were protecting that, and my business partner overseeing the operations. But long term, that could never work. I wanted to do something that I was really passionate about. So I wanted to shift my mindset into helping people buy and not helping people sell. So I piloted it with local people, and there was a demand for it. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could take this to sport. I mean, I love sport. Who doesn't love sport? Whatever there's sport, sport is, whether it's football, rugby, cricket, boxing, whatever it is. So we built a educational workshop, and I put it out on LinkedIn to say, how do you feel there would be a space in sport for someone to teach athletes more about safe property investment?
Okay, so in that fact, so this is the next section we're going to, which is what I'd like to know is the what you do, how you do it, and why, and the why can't be financially motivated. And this is about MPH Sport, which is your baby and your growth period. So what is MPH Sports?
MPH Sports is a property finding service. That's what we do. We help support and provide safe property investments to athletes to help with transition after the career, because we all know that athletes are going to earn life-changing money. and more than the average than you and I, right?
Yeah.
So it's about parking that money into some property in a tax efficient way that allows them to receive some healthy passive income for the rest of their life. And they're not going to need that money whilst they're playing.
No.
But they can have the ability to tap into it should they need to after football, after sport in general.
So did some of that come thought process and more of a human side due to the understanding of disappointment of being let go yourself at 16?
Definitely, look, absolutely. We talk about it, you know. So what we did is during that presentation, I openly talk about at the beginning that it was also my dream to become an athlete. That's what I wanted to do. I had a dream.
So when did MPH Sports start?
So MPH Sports officially went live on the 1st of February 2020.
Okay. Wow, okay. So 3 years in.
3 years. We had about 2 years under MPH. We rebranded exclusively for MPH Sports because a former player in Scott Dan.
I was going to start, so is it just yourself that's the main people, or who's the other directors?
Yeah, I've got two other directors. Yeah, so I'm a 50% shareholder of the business. I've got two other partners, one being Scott Dan, who's just retired from Reading Football Club.
Hi Scott, nice to see you today. Nice to see you
and my business partner, Elliot Lamerton, who also I co-own my estate agency with, also has 25% of the company. Two people who I love to bits, back entirely, and they back me. So, and we've all got a different, I guess, roles and responsibility within the business. Elliot, his brain works completely different to mine. Again, helps me with the operations of the company. Yeah. And Scott, we focused on, we needed money when we opened this business. He invested into the business, and now he's retired. We've got some exciting plans where he can get back involved again, but not once have we asked him to recommend or
of course
refer. We wanted him to focus on his career and what an unbelievable career he's had.
So you took it from the point of view of, as you said before, was take it out to LinkedIn, ask them if there was a kind of desire for people to get into this and get some more information. What I liked, and probably why I wanted to speak to you, is very much a lot of it's done through education and taking it from the very early years, or at the point of view before they are. Do you take them pre-professional, or you take them from professional?
We take them from professional, but that would be first year pros. Okay. So for example, we'll go and see Southampton under 21s.
And when I talk about education, this is very much doing workshops around looking and really understanding what property's about, investing, and then delivery. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's a 20-25 minute workshop where we'll talk to a group of players and staff about what types of property you could buy, how much it would cost. We talk about the most tax efficient way of buying that would be through a property company, because that also enables them to maintain their first time buyer status. Because when you speak to a group of young lads, their signing on fee is probably going to be anywhere between 10 grand and £100,000. I take it. I could be slightly
Well, it's quite a broad number anyway.
It's going to be depending on the profile of the player, yeah? So I could be speaking to an under-21s group at QPR, and they're probably still on scholarship money or first-year money, which might only be 15, 20 grand a year.
Okay.
Whereas a first-year pro at Man City might be considerably higher. So they're going to get a signing-on fee. Now, we're trying to help support the club, educate their players with better financial behaviours, because what happens is that when you're in an environment and you're looking up to either the 23s that's now abolished, but then the first team or the reserves, they've all got a nicer car, a nicer watch, a nicer lifestyle. And I think whilst that motivates some of the younger players, they also can, not all, can buy and spend their money a little bit, not foolishly, but I do feel that they're looking to impress.
I think Micah Richards spoke about it recently, didn't he? Where he said he'd be earning 100 grand a week or something along those lines.
What an interview that was!
Right, and then he's very much going on Friday, going, I haven't got a game this weekend. I'll just go to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, and literally.
But it's not just him he's paying for. He's paying for his
entourage.
Correct.
It's not just that as well, but you've spent 100 grand say in a weekend. You know you're gonna get another 100 grand next week.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite mind blowing. The extent of the money, and then you look at Saka, who's obviously signed, was it 300k a week, something along those lines. I saw yesterday. This guy's 21 years old, 22 years old. It's unbelievable. And this is what's interesting to me. You're obviously would love to work with those types of individuals, I'm sure. But what I really like is you're going still very much grassroots and taking the education part for lads and ladies and from different sports lives that potentially will not make it all the way to that bigger number.
Do you know what? That's exactly it. We don't go in there to earn a load of money out of it. You know, we're blessed with the fact that if I didn't do another sale for the next 12 months, it wouldn't change my life. Mm-hmm. So we go in with the right intention of helping provide the right information that allows them to make the right decision on their money. So we had a fantastic talk with West Ham under-21s. Now, West Ham under-21s just won the league.
Good team.
Great team. Some unbelievable talent in that group. And one of the lads reached out. I don't know if I can say his name or not, but maybe I'll keep that private. Mm-hmm. But he's got a fantastic future ahead of him. So he called me and said, I love the workshop. That's really inspired me now to change the direction of where I was going to spend my money.
Yeah.
I said, where are we going to spend it? He said, I was going to buy a new car. I said, well, that's normal.
Yeah,
so don't worry about that. He said, but what I'm thinking is that if my money could work for me better in a property, then maybe I'll just stick with the car I've got.
And I guess that's where you're trying to take these guys' ideas.
We're not trying to be their parent
and
say, no, you've got to do this. We're trying to give them options. And we always say that you don't need to use us. We're just providing you with the information that allows you to explore this on your journey at some point.
But interesting, you talk about their parents. You've got to you probably do appreciate this, that probably a lot of these people's parents either currently still live in a council house, either live in a very small property and never had access to enough money to either buy a house or even let alone invest in property. So do you have to have a fair bit of interaction with the parents?
Yeah, we do. And that was my next point. So we actually asked this lad to arrange a call with his parents, and we did. Then we set up a WhatsApp group and then we helped him set up a property company. We then got him a mortgage for that business. We then helped him open up a bank account. We then found him a really nice little buy-to-let property. And now that property is let and managed in this business, and he makes around 12 to 13% on his money.
Okay, so
what a fantastic position.
So from that kind of buy to sale, let's take that position. So I've just done your workshop.
Yeah.
I've given you a message going, hi Lee, I really like what you had to say.
Yeah.
What's the next step? This is obviously the how it works, right? So it falls in quite nicely into the next section of how does it work? I'd like to buy a property. Lee, I've got a bit of cash here. What's a starting number, as a realistic starting number that you would need to get into this sort of side of things?
About 30 grand.
Okay.
It could be less, but the thing is that if you buy too cheap, it's going to probably provide with too many maintenance issues, or the contingency is going to take it up to that 30,000.
Yeah,
so
okay.
We normally say around £30,000, and that would involve maybe some sort of entry-level turnkey investment, which will be a really nice sort of two-bedroom house that you and I have both got as well.
Yes.
And somewhere between £70,000 and £90,000.
Okay.
The mortgage on that would be about, say, 225 at the moment on these rates, but the rents would be about 575.
Okay, so I'm a footballer. My brain's just gone. Lee, I like the idea. I have no idea how you've just said that to me. So let's break it down. So you will then go, okay, you've got 30k there. You will then go out to market to find property, or you've got portfolios in different parts of the country? Yeah,
so over the past sort of 3 or 4 years, we have built some fantastic relationships with trusted property providers that feed us with these sort of entry-level turnkey investments, and they're fantastic. We've also got the higher level end at 3, 4, 500,000, and then we've got our other end of beyond that at like 2, 3, 4, 5 million quid. So the majority of our clients are happy just to buy little and often, and I think that's brilliant. It's something that I'm trying to do myself. I'm buying my 5th one at the moment. My goal is to get to 10. When I get to 10, I will have financial freedom for the rest of my life as a family.
So we have a line in the business which is called delivering on your own bullshit. And to be fair, you're delivering on your own bullshit.
Absolutely, yeah. And we have to make financial sacrifices and life sacrifices to achieve this goal. You know, we will genuinely sit down and go, can we afford to do that this month?
So you haven't signed your new long-term contract at 300k a week then?
Not quite, no. I wasn't involved in the Saka deal. That would have been nice. But I feel that providing these young lads with the option, and then we can support them on that journey. We don't ask them to sign a contract. We don't take any money up front. Yeah. It's all built on trust. It's all built on longevity. If they get a good experience with me, because I formulate the sales, I will be given a 2-bedroom house that I think will be perfect for this young player.
Yeah.
I then send him all the pictures, all the numbers, the floor plan, the videos, all the bits and pieces, with a breakdown of all the associated costs, and he would then approve it, and then we start the sale.
So let's step back on the actual properties themselves. You're looking to sell me property in the north.
Yeah.
Why am I looking at the north? I live in the south. I don't understand why I can't buy something southern with my money.
Yeah.
What are the key elements of a property you're looking for when you're making these decisions for these people? Is it size, value, location? Is it state?
Honestly, it's really simple. It's financial returns.
Okay.
You know, you wouldn't bank with your nearest bank to your house.
Okay.
You would go to what the best bank for you. For us, we assess every single sale based on a return on investment and the yield. Now, as you know, buying in the south, you're going to get the right capital growth. But to buy a 2-bedroom property here in Marlow, it's probably going to cost you £500,000.
And then what sort of starting number would you need then on that?
Well, your deposit alone is going to be £125,000.
Okay.
So we're talking probably all in for what, 150, 160, including stamp duty, legal fees, any works that you need to do, and then the rent it will cover the mortgage and other associated costs, but are you really making much profit? So therefore we would look at what sort of returns are you making.
But would they also be allowed at that young age to buy at that level?
Through us, we wouldn't recommend it, no.
So I mean, from a lending point of view, the risk portfolio, would a mortgage company go, okay, you've just started a brand new limited company, you're 20, and you're only just starting earnings?
At 20, no. 21, yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. 21 they would?
Yeah, because their salary would more than cover. Because, as you know, when you buy a property through a property business, you're still the director of that business. Okay. You're loaning your money to that company, which means you can pull the profit back out without any income tax. However, because you're the director of your own company, you still have to be financially assessed, and a lot of these boys at 21, 22, especially in the Premier League clubs, they're earning 6-figure salaries.
Yeah, okay. But if we go back to the broader spectrum of sports, so you don't just cover football, you do football, rugby, you do Olympians.
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate. We're attracting more and more inquiries from different sports. So just to make it clear, we are in the Premier League life skills brochure.
And what does that mean?
What that means is that Premier League clubs need to provide compulsory and optional education to their younger groups.
Okay.
So a Premier League club like Manchester City, before they pull someone else in to teach their players about more life skill opportunities and education, they would look at their Premier League life skills brochure and they would look at the companies available. There is some compulsory ones there, which will be about drinking, gambling, social media and everything else. Then it'll be optional, and we are in the optional section of the Premier League. We've got a fantastic relationship with the Premier League. The Premier League have attended our workshops on more than one occasion, and they love it. So I would be shocked if we're not part of next season's.
Okay. So it's a yearly renewal.
It's a yearly renewal.
Okay.
We've been renewed now for 5 seasons in a row.
Must feel good, right?
Yeah, 100%. That we're blessed with that, to be the only property company representing Premiership.
I was going to ask that, so you are the only one?
We're the only one, but we're also the property partner for the Rugby Players Association, that's Rugby Union. And then only recently we were asked to be considered for the Rugby League player care programme. So you go through a 4-stage interview process, and then we were asked to attend the pre-season partners conference, where all of the other life skill partners sort of get together, and we then meet they're called development managers. So, for example,
there's a lot of layers then.
There's a lot of layers. On Monday, I was at St Helens Rugby Club. So I had met the development manager who represents all the players with activities away from rugby. And said, look, we've put it out to the squad, who they would like to come in. They've said you. It's not a compulsory session.
No.
And they've got a 34-man squad. 26 players signed up to attend.
That's fantastic.
So my team and I went to St Helens on Monday. I mean, we didn't get a standing ovation, but we got a fantastic round of applause. And the amount of players that have reached out since saying, I mean, I've posted something on Instagram this morning from another player at Salford. And sorry, not Salford, from Hull Kingston Rovers, who was a club I went to a couple of weeks ago, saying, you have literally inspired me to start this process.
It's great.
He's just announced his retirement. He's got a huge following on social media. I mean, my knowledge on rugby league is very, very tiny. He's clearly a enormous profile player in this sport. He's just announced his retirement, and he's absolutely gutted that he didn't start this journey years ago, but no one's gone in to help, to educate, to help them learn and this way of working. And the thing is, when these players get money, they turn to a financial advisor.
Yes.
And that is definitely the best thing they can do, is get some real good financial advice and make their money work whilst they're playing. But it's also important to understand that they should diversify. So they should definitely have a financial advisor, and a financial advisor should also be helping them with their property portfolio and spreading their risk with their funds.
Deploy Recruitment Group provides fast and reliable recruitment across the UK and overseas. We source, screen and deliver quality skilled individuals to meet your business requirements. Using our extensive database, market knowledge, network and latest software, we provide access to specialised talent and address your industry's core challenges. Plan, supply and deliver safely. For more information, please visit our website, deployrecruit.com.
So interesting on financial advisors. I'll flip it the other way. I do have property, and interesting, my financial advisor has told me to diversify away from property. So is there an old school markets investment still heading a lot of financial advisors?
Oh my God, unbelievably. We've got there's a shirt over there, I won't mention which one, top Premier League player, just been announced in the England squad. I've known him for a few years, and we get on really well. I've helped his dad with a property as well. His financial advisor has told him not to focus on a property portfolio, and it's so frustrating. But that's one of the reasons why we wouldn't recommend players to go with him, because we've got 3 or 4 financial advisors, wealth management planners, who are brilliant, and they've got the most fantastic intentions for their clients. And property portfolios can often complement the rest of their finance working, because markets change. And over the past couple of years, stocks and shares, and they're not performing that well.
No.
Whereas historically, they've been performing really well.
FTSE has always kind of ticked along,
That's
and you
it.
get your gains and you invest a bit.
That's it. So I feel like if they're not working so well, then maybe their property portfolio would actually get them out of trouble.
So my other question was, is purely your business centric around sports, or do you open it out further to human beings other than sports people?
The answer is ideally not. We really enjoy our niche market in sport. apart from friends like you,
yeah, sure,
or our own network
associates,
of close people. But no, we focus on helping sports people, and the reason why is because there isn't that many really good investment opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we might be closing anywhere from sort of 10 to 30 deals a month.
Okay.
Which
That's healthy, right?
Really good. Yeah, really good. We've now obviously got a management team, so on completion we can actually manage the client's property and portfolio, so we can take responsibility of their letting and their management and their maintenance and their renewals and everything else.
So is that national?
National.
Okay.
Yeah. Anywhere in the country, we can look after it.
So we've covered the point then of they can buy your property.
Yep.
You can help arrange the mortgages.
Yep.
You can introduce them for the
solicitors,
insurance.
Yep.
So as a 20-year-old, is there anything I need to really consider that can't be managed within this kind of turnkey solution?
Absolutely nothing. No, we offer a fully wrapped service to the point where we've now just launched our own lettings arm. So, which means that on completion we can now actually rent it.
And is that that's a digital platform, I take it?
No, we've got a physical team in place that will go out and rent them, so that we can, digital platform, yes, in the sense that it will be on Rightmove, it will be on Zoopla, which will attract the inquiries, but we've actually got people on the ground now that go out and actually do the viewings, and we can now do our own references, right to rent checks, prepare our own tenancy agreements, tenancy renewals, property visits, because we're trying to take a bit more control. The standard of estate agencies is got quite bad. It used to be so popular. Back in my day when I wanted, but I still own my estate agency today, and it is hard to recruit good people. Really, really difficult. No one is leaving school saying I want to become an estate agent. Whereas back then, back in the 90s, and the 2000s, everyone wanted to be, because everyone knew it paid well. It was long hours, but it paid well. Now, I guess it doesn't pay as well. I also think that the younger people of today are not prepared to do the hours that is necessary to make you graft in life. I feel like the reason I became successful in a estate agency when I was 17, 18, is because the moment I started, the first thing I did, I looked at who's a manager. She'd been there a long time, and was very good at her job, no question. But I knew that I had the ability to go further. So I decided to come in a bit earlier. I decided to work a little bit later. And I did that every single day. On my Saturdays off, I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? I'll just go down the pub with my mates but I thought, well, maybe I'll just go in and work half a day. So you've got to be prepared to do whatever you've got to do to succeed in life. And I reckon I never got burnt out, really. I loved what I did. You've got to love what you do, even on bad days. So life's not perfect, you know.
But also, would you put that down to having a good woman behind you as well? Yeah,
like Lorna's very supportive, you know. I've been very lucky. We've been together since we were very, very young.
Wow. I've seen the haircuts from that period as well.
Yeah,
they're very impressive.
Yeah. I feel like I'm on fine wine, not really. Yeah, no, look, absolutely. Look, she's been there for me, and we've gone through, you know, good times and bad times with it. You know, but kids. Your kids are your motivation, but you've got to find that burning desire to be better than anyone else around you. And I think that's what comes down to me being successful at sport at such a young age. I was always competitive. I always wanted to be the best. I was blessed to play in the best teams, best district team, best county side. And even like today, I mean, we're fortunate enough we're completely unrivaled in what we do. But we come into work every day as if we've got 4 or 5 top companies trying to outbid us for everything.
That's good. And the reason I'm asking for the family structure is that if I was a parent of a child and I've got this bloke going, give us your money, you've got a nicely signing on fee, it's your first ever kind of big cash sign on, and I've got some bloke going, I want 30 grand out of the 50 you just got. I want to know that the person I'm handing out money to has got the same family and morals that someone who has nothing has. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And look, what I say to people all the time, whether it's with a player at England or a young lad or a female athlete, it's like, look, I'm just a normal family guy, you know. I had a dream to become a professional footballer. I created a new dream, and the dreams come true. And there'll be more dreams which we'll attack and try and build and achieve in life. Not every dream does come true, and there'll be obstacles in the way that we'll have to overcome. But you know, I'm blessed with what I've got. I've got a great family. The kids are fantastic. What they've achieved in sport and academically is brilliant. You know, we're so proud of them. My team here is unbelievable. We graft, we work hard, we communicate, we do a lot of stuff socially.
You've got a lovely location as well.
We're blessed with this.
Beautiful.
It is, yeah. We've got 1,000 square foot of barn conversion, which we invested so much money into. But you know, we've also embraced technology and change and the markets and prices. We've got great additional services like our mortgage guys. They're fantastic. They're always educating us in what the base rate's doing, what the buy-to-let markets are doing, what lenders are lending, what ones aren't.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to be on the forefront so we can provide the information to allow people to make the right decisions. And that's why you know, it's down to them. If they don't want to do it, it's absolutely fine. We can provide the information, but a lot of players find trust difficult.
Yeah, of course. I think they probably feel that everyone wants something from them.
Correct.
And I've been associated with a few recently, and it's always you introduce yourself and they're like, what do they want?
Yeah.
Rather than having just a legitimate conversation and
yeah, definitely.
It's really nice to meet you.
Exactly that. And but at the moment their guard drops, you become a very close person in their life, and they will then ask you questions not just about property, but they'll ask you questions around life.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we've agreed over 570 sales for players in 3.5 years.
It's pretty good, right?
I can't imagine many estate agents, top estate agents in your high street right now that are doing anywhere near that level of business.
Yeah, sure.
So to do that with a little team like what we've got here is plausible. But
so would you, here's an interesting question, would you prefer the internet to be switched off from tomorrow to get your business even bigger? From the point of view of, you've highlighted you're on the ground, you're always visible, and you're going to the areas you're buying. When you're obviously saying the other estate agents are lazy, is that a good way of putting it?
I think the standard in the south of estate agents is dropped. Would I want the internet to stop tomorrow? I don't know how it would impact me too much. If they were going to list a property that last year the market was really tough because, you know, what the internet would allow is that obviously an agent would list a property and the estate and the internet would then facilitate that to, you know, millions of people and investors like me are all over it. And I'll be honest, whilst we still agreed 179 sales last year, we withdrew from over 50.
Okay.
Because we were either getting gazumped or we realised that actually the price was just too high. So
you're still heavily involved in making sure that number is dropped if required, and if you don't feel it's good value, advise on that.
Correct, because what's happened over the past sort of 6 to 12 months is that interest rates have gone up, property prices have kind of leveled down, come down a bit, but also rents have increased. So the rents have increased to kind of compensate the rate increase, but also we're buying properties at slightly less value today than we were maybe 6-9 months ago.
So do you feel that the property values in whole are still over the top, or is it purely market pressures?
It depends on what type of properties. You know, obviously we only focus on buy-to-let investments. So we'll look at somewhere like Hull, for example, and we do buy some stuff there, new builds that have permission for service accommodation. The service accommodation market in the postcode area that we're buying in is unbelievably thriving right now.
Okay.
So the returns there are super hot and heavy.
So if you take that comment I made about the internet and you took Hull, for example, without the internet, you would probably be less gazumped because you're specialising in something that's working for your clients.
Yeah,
that was kind of probably my point. I probably didn't describe it as well enough.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you talk about gazumping, the internet, as you say, allows for much higher bidding. So is there a problem that you've got so many eyes on it, the market price is being pushed up artificially because everyone wants that piece of it?
Definitely, because when there's fewer stock that comes to market, it drives prices higher, right? The demand's always there, but it's all about supply and demand.
And my point is, if you can't see it, you can't bid for it. But if you know about it because you're that expert on the ground,
true,
it's yours to negotiate.
I think from a sales arm, I would agree. From a lettings arm, I would disagree, because we wouldn't be able to rent them as quickly.
Of course.
And therefore our returns might not be as high because we haven't got that real big demand for rental. But great question. I haven't got an answer for it.
It's fine. There's no. So we probably have covered off a lot of the why, but why are you doing this? And like I say, it's not. It's the question. The answer can't be because you want to make money.
No.
Why?
Oh no. Look. I mean, I did it originally, like I said, it was for a lifestyle change. Now I've got my lifestyle change. Now I love developing fantastic relationships with new people. I mean, let's be honest, I've got the best job in the world. I've got my two passions, as in sport and property, and I've put the two together. And I've completely taken myself out of my comfort zone. I've never done public talking. A year ago, there is not, or maybe 2 years ago, there's not a chance I would have agreed to this podcast because I would have stuttered and mumbled throughout the whole thing. But we're in a very influential place here where we can help young athletes across different sporting environments through different backgrounds learn something that they didn't know. And if that leads to anything, then great. And if it doesn't matter. But it will help them at some point in their career. And when they earn a little pocket of money or some real life-changing money, well, I learned something about setting up a property company. I can loan that property to my business. And the feeling we get when we see a player on a journey that goes from a workshop to a property acquisition to a rental, it's so satisfying. And it's got nothing to do with the money at all. I love coming to work every day. You can see the environment we've got here.
Yeah, it's great.
I love working with my team. But we're super blessed with working with some of the biggest names in sport who are just calling me up for a round of golf or a chat or a beer, and you think, come on, this is not what I thought maybe 5 years ago when I'm working in Harrow doing a valuation at 7-8 o'clock at night for somebody that probably just didn't really want to sell. So
quite a tight area.
Yeah, we are fortunate, we are lucky, but in the same breath, I feel like we have created our own luck. I feel like I feel like we work so hard and we invest so much time, physically, emotionally, into this business, that why wouldn't someone not reach out now?
Yeah, no, I get that.
I think any athlete with some money should consider partnering up with us, because you're not buying an expensive pair of trainers at 500-600 quid and going, they're a bit small. There's a lot of layers of protection, and if you could park your 30 grand into something that was going to give you 11, 12, 13% on your money for the rest of your life, it sounds like a no-brainer. Hence why, I'm on that journey myself, and that's why it's nice that I'm in that position to do that.
On a slightly different note, we've spoken quite heavily about probably the male part of the game.
Yep.
The future of MPH Sports.
Yeah.
What's the future looking like? Are you looking to progress more into the women's game, which has obviously got a massive, uptake, a real investment and a real eye. I mean, let's be honest, the Lionesses winning the Euros.
So exciting.
Took it to another level.
Yeah.
I've taken my daughter now to a number of the Arsenal ladies games. She plays football, like you say, your daughter plays football. it's an exciting time, and what's going to come with that is, let's be fair, the financial rewards. So, is that something you're obviously moving into, or is that something already on the horizon?
It's already on the horizon, yeah. It's something I'm so passionate about. As you know, my Chloe loves her football. I've coached her team for the past 5 seasons, and we've got a really, really super successful team. And the women's game has changed enormously. We do work for a few female footballers at this present moment, and some of the biggest names in the world. So we are in a process of exploring how we get into the WSL. The problem the WSL has got is that there isn't an educational setup program yet.
Okay.
So the Premier League have
established,
but it's got a player liaison for each club. It's got a head of education for each club, and that's all being
maturity in it.
Correct. Whereas the women haven't got that. They haven't got infrastructure. So the only way of us providing this sort of information into a female, if we went to Arsenal, for example, and you know I work for some of the Arsenal footballers, right?
Yeah.
For me to go in there, the only way of doing that is through a recommendation from the player.
Okay.
Which is not the right way of going about it.
But in a perverse way, it's quite nice because it's going back to a very old school fashion of
referral, right?
Referral, yeah, rather than this is it.
I agreed, and you know we don't have to pay the Premier League anything, and the Premier League don't pay us to go out either.
Of course.
But I do think in the women's game where, I mean, the Euros was just so much fun, and you've got the World Cup coming up in July. I think England will be fantastic in that as well. Every young girl now who didn't think they could play football, they've motivated these young children to believe that they can.
But weirdly, I'm finding there's a lot more boys watching the women's game rather than watching the men's game. I was on a train the other week and I was coming back from the Arsenal ladies game with my daughter, and the amount of boys that were discussing the game knew every name of the player, their position, league, how many goals they've scored. I thought it was a real turning point that the younger generation now will have an equal opportunity to do as they see fit and actually do what they want, rather than be potentially feeling like a second tier to the men's game, for example.
I completely agree. And some of the endorsements for some of these women at the minute, I mean, we're talking high into 6 figures.
100%.
I just hope that they have the right people around them and they're not just attracting the wrong people. I was with Beth Mead only 2 weeks ago. What an introduction that was, you know.
100%.
So that's going to be another exciting one. We've just bought 2 properties for Erin Cuthbert at Chelsea. Erin won't mind me mentioning that either. Erin's an amazing person, Scottish international. She signed for Chelsea at 18. She's seen the club completely change since. But there is still, what's the word? A diversity. The women have to park somewhere, the men park somewhere.
Okay.
They will train somewhere. The men train somewhere.
Okay.
They all still come together at certain parts of Cobham.
Yeah.
But it is changing. I think the world and the clubs are accepting that the women's game is seeing a huge amount more traction now.
100%.
I mean, if you see, I was blessed to go to the Champions League semi-final with Chelsea. But if you look at that game in Barcelona, it's a full house.
Oh yeah, biggest other than the Arsenal at home.
Yeah.
Outside of 100%.
Yeah.
It's got the momentum there now.
It has, and we've got to encourage that. And now we've just got to encourage some safe life skill information into these people, because I'm talking to an awful lot of female footballers, some of the best in the league, some in the best in the world, loads of internationals, and everything that we're talking about, they don't know. So
but you wouldn't?
No, of course you wouldn't, because their life's been football, and they're amazing, and they accept that because their money isn't as good as the men's, they need to make it work.
Yeah,
and whilst
yeah,
they're travelling from club to club, and they need to make their money work, this is so important. And that's why someone like Erin, who has got a passion for property, she's got a home in Leatherhead, and she's like, I've got money in image rights, so I need to invest it. It needs to be working, and we've structured a property company, and we've loaned the money from there into that. We'll do the same with Beth. We've got the same with Vivian Medina. We've got, and these people just, they're just so nice. They're so humble, and they fully appreciate that this should have been happening a long time ago.
Yeah.
They accept that it's now there.
That's good.
And they need to be taking full advantage of that. And if they've got the right people around them, what a place women's football is going to be for the next 10 years. I mean, it has inspired so many young children, young girls, you know, like yours and mine, just wanting to play football, and they're following all these women on Instagram and stuff, and it is motivational.
It is.
And I love it. I mean, prime example, I mean, we had a cup final for my girls 2 weeks ago. I managed to get some motivational videos from players like Millie Bright and Sam Kerr that came through to me to wish the girls well ahead of the final.
Just a normal Sunday, right?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the boys would do that.
Yeah. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Correct.
And this was enormous, and the girls honestly just looked at each other and went, oh my God. I mean, I didn't even have to do a motivational talk before the game and said, you've got some people that are supporting you today. And
so was that the you're crying, I'm not crying game?
That game. Yeah. that game. But yeah, look, we're listen, you know, we would never have been in a position to have bought a horse a couple of years ago. But listen, right, it was my dream. We talk about dreams. I've always wanted to own a horse. And we entered it up at Haydock for a big 100 grand race. It would have been lovely if it had won. It didn't. That's life. And we'll hopefully take it to Ascot for the Champions Day in October. But it's a dream, right? At some point we'll pass it on, but it's great. But we're hoping we can replicate this, and we're going to take it abroad. And I think if we do, we feel there's a chance that we're going to take this to Scotland next season. So we're hoping to speak to all the Scottish Premiership clubs next season. But if we could take it to maybe even like somewhere like in America, that would be fantastic.
So would you take it from the current players to buy abroad, or would you take it abroad to buy in that country for just those players, or would you kind of hybrid
the latter,
the two?
Absolutely. So, you know, it's an educational piece. We don't know about the San Diego market. We don't know about them buying property in Orlando, Florida, or wherever. It's about teaching them to consider property investment as part of their future. So we're not going to go out and start sourcing properties for them.
No.
But it comes down to education, about providing motivational reasons to invest in property. And I hope we get the opportunity to do that, because I feel that there's a couple of goals that we need to hit here first. I think once we've done that, this business will then have financial freedom. Once that business has got financial freedom, it will enable us to actually invest in other countries and provide all this information without
any boundaries, any restrictions.
Correct.
Cool. Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good way to end it. So from where you are now to that 16-year-old Lee again, is there anything you would have probably advised yourself differently, or do you believe everything that's happened has happened for a reason?
Honestly, I was asked this question recently, actually. I think everything that's happened has happened for a reason. I don't necessarily regret not being the perfect student at school. I felt being competitive in sport enabled me to be competitive in life and in business. I think having the right attitude to succeed, treating people with respect, working hard, listening to people, and embracing other people's skill sets. We've got a lad in there, 21 years of age. He is the brightest kid I've ever met in my life. And now we've got another apprenticeship lady coming through who starts on the 1st of August. You've got to just, as a business, we're embracing young talent. These guys work differently, completely differently. Thankfully, we've got a bit of experience on our side now. The fact that we've gone through a failed sporting career, through setting up your own estate agency, going from I bought my first property at 18 to then being homeless at 24, to then buy my perfect family home in 2008 and then having to move back out because we couldn't afford the mortgage because of the credit crunch. That's what business throws at you. And as long as you can apply the right mentality and spirit and accept that some days are bad and some days are really, really bad, it just makes the good ones feel really strong. Just you only get one chance at life, give it a go, and then hopefully it all works out.
Wow, what a lovely way to finish. Thanks, Lee.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
I enjoyed that.
So that's been Inside Success with myself, Paul Smith, and Lee Pottle from MPH Sports. This will be up soon on YouTube and everything else. And anything you want to plug yourself finally, Lee? Is there anything that you are doing yourself personally you'd like to plug?
No, well, if anyone wants to check out our website, you can see some of the players that we work with. 30 podcasts we did. It's called Talk, Sport and Property.
And where's that available on?
That's available everywhere, I think.
Everywhere?
Yeah, so what would that be?
Spotify, Apple Music,
everything.
All available. All your favourite podcast.
But we stopped this about a year ago now. We should probably do another series. Life has obviously been a bit busy recently, but I think that come the end of the year, we spoke about this morning actually, didn't we? It's Talk, Sport and Property. You'll see a lot of your favourite sports people, from cricket to boxing to Savannah Marshall, for example, got a massive world title fight again coming up. We interviewed her, Chris Robshaw, former England captain. We talk about,
basically, listen to it, is what you're saying.
Do it! Get on it!
Listen to the
podcast. Do it!
Thank you for listening again, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I found it really interesting that how the education piece is a massive sell to the next generation, because, let's be fair, money doesn't come easily, and trusting someone to spend it with, especially when buying property, is a massive decision. If you want to find out more about Lee and his business, find him on mphsports.co.uk. If you like this podcast and you enjoyed this episode, give it a cheeky like, give it a reshare, give it a comment. And if you want to follow us on socials, we're on Instagram as Inside Success Podcast. Till next time, bonjour.